The shocking sentencing story of Mike Wolf, the star of American Pickers, has caused a stir across the United States. When images of him being handcuffed and led away appeared, many were left shocked and filled with questions. Could this arrest be connected to disputes over antiques or conflicts with the History Channel? But the truth behind the incident is much more complex and frightening than anyone could have imagined. Let's dive into the hidden details of this story. If this story surprised you, don't forget to share the video with your friends, hit like to support the channel, and subscribe to stay updated on the next developments. Mike Wolf's story still has many shocking twists ahead. The sentence handed down to Mike Wolf left viewers across the United States stunned, as the American Picker star was handcuffed and led away. Initially, many believed the arrest was tied to a dispute over antiques or possibly a business conflict with the History Channel. Based on the latest reports, however, the truth behind the arrest is even more horrifying. Wolf was arrested in connection with the death of his former co-host, Frank Fritz. Initially, Fritz's death was believed to be from natural causes, but investigators have now reclassified it as a premeditated murder. Medical reports revealed that Fritz had an extremely high level of drugs in his system, indicating he had been overdosed. Prosecutors filed murder charges against Wolf, arguing that the drugging of Fritz, someone who trusted Wolf completely, was intentional, not accidental. Some have even labeled the act as a crime, while others, including many fans, believe the tension between the two was merely a stunt to attract more viewers. With these serious charges, Wolf faces the prospect of being detained and held accountable for his actions. Prosecutors believe the murder stemmed from jealousy and greed, a bloody act of revenge. However, a surprising twist occurred in the case when the initial charges were temporarily downgraded. Investigators have gathered more evidence, making the situation even more complex. A social media post revealed that Wolf was initially arrested after a member of the American Picker crew took him to Fritz's house after his death. The Iowa State Police stepped in and conducted a thorough investigation, uncovering crucial evidence, including Wolf's fingerprints on a pill bottle and suspicious text messages sent to Fritz. This evidence led to the initial murder charges being filed. The investigation into Frank Fritz's death began when a medical examiner noticed inconsistencies in the toxicology report. The official cause of death was initially stated as complications from a stroke, but the autopsy results pointed to something else. Fritz's prescription drug levels were shockingly high, far exceeding the prescribed dosage for his condition, which immediately raised suspicions. Notably, Fritz was believed to have strictly adhered to his medication regimen throughout his recovery, prompting investigators to question who might have interfered with this routine. The Iowa State Police quietly launched an investigation, focusing on those who had been with Fritz in his final hours. Their findings shocked not only the investigators but also Fritz's longtime friends. Surveillance footage from Fritz's neighborhood revealed a shocking detail. Wolf's car was seen at Fritz's house late at night, around 3 hours before emergency services were called. It was Wolf who made the 911 call, stating that he had stopped by to check on his old friend and found Fritz unresponsive. Upon arrival, paramedics arrived to find no pulse, and despite efforts to resuscitate him, Fritz was declared dead at the scene. Initial reports suggested that Fritz's death was related to his previous stroke, but the toxicology results revealed something entirely different. It became clear that Frank Fritz's death was not a natural occurrence, and questions about Mike Wolf's involvement remain unanswered. The story took a darker turn as investigators focused on Mike Wolf's actions immediately following Frank Fritz's death. Instead of taking time to mourn, Wolf quickly moved to assert control over Fritz's collection and intellectual property. Within 48 hours of Fritz's passing, Wolf contacted Fritz's lawyer to discuss acquiring the rights to his name and likeness, with the intent to use them for future American Picker products. According to testimonies from production staff, Wolf also moved swiftly to access Fritz's storage locations, where valuable antiques never before featured on the show were kept. Some crew members reported that Wolf seemed unusually focused on business matters immediately after Fritz's death, showing no outward signs of grief as one might expect. When detectives conducted a search of Wolf's home and office, they discovered a safe containing unlabeled pill bottles. Upon examination, these pills were found to be the same type as those found in Fritz's system. The most shocking discovery, however, was a journal found in Wolf's travel bag, in which he had written extensively about his growing resentment towards Fritz. In the journal, Wolf expressed anger and hatred towards Fritz. Some entries dated back several years, with the tone becoming increasingly hostile over time. Notably, one entry just weeks before Fritz's death read, "F thinks he can come back and steal half the spotlight again. He forgets that without me there would be no show. He's become a burden, and the network is showing me there's only one way to save what I've built." These words revealed Wolf's deep animosity towards his former friend and colleague. During the 6-week trial, Wolf appeared surprisingly calm, sitting silently beside his attorneys as the prosecution presented evidence showing that he had planned Fritz's murder. The jury was presented with details revealing that Wolf had researched undetectable poisons and methods to make Fritz's death appear as a complication from his stroke. Wolf's internet search history included queries such as "Can stroke-drug interactions be detected after death?" and "How to make someone's death look like a stroke complication." The prosecution argued that Wolf exploited Fritz's previous health issues to commit murder, seeing it as the perfect opportunity to eliminate his partner and take control of the show. Former members of the American Pickers crew testified to the concerning changes in the relationship between Wolf and Fritz in the years leading up to Fritz's departure from the show and subsequent death. A production assistant testified that she overheard heated arguments between the two about the future direction of the show. With Wolf demanding full creative control, she recalled Wolf telling Fritz that he had lost his right to equal payment after his health problems. Several witnesses described Wolf becoming increasingly controlling, frequently speaking ill of Fritz to network executives, and isolating Fritz from his longtime friends in the antiques community. Perhaps the most emotional testimony came from Danielle Colby, who reluctantly agreed to testify. She recalled asking Wolf about reconciling with Fritz, only for him to become defensive and angry, telling her to stop meddling in matters that didn't concern her. Colby also recounted finding concerning notes in Wolf's office regarding Fritz's medication schedule, and when she questioned Wolf, he claimed he was simply concerned about Fritz's health. The defense team attempted to portray the situation as a misunderstood friendship, arguing that Wolf had genuinely tried to reconcile with Fritz before his death. They brought in network executives to testify about public statements supporting Fritz's recovery. However, this theory was quickly debunked when Fritz's personal doctor took the stand. The doctor confirmed that while Fritz was concerned about his health, he remained optimistic about his recovery and had even planned to start his own antiques business. The doctor also stated that he had never prescribed such high doses of medication to Fritz during his treatment. Wolf's carefully maintained composure began to crack when he was directly asked if he had given Fritz the drugs. The testimonies and evidence slowly pieced together a clearer picture of the tension and complex relationship between Wolf and Fritz, making Fritz's death increasingly baffling and suspicious. Throughout the trial, as the prosecution continued to present evidence and provide testimony regarding Wolf's financial motives, the atmosphere grew tense. A sudden outburst occurred when Wolf, unable to contain his anger, shouted at the prosecutor, "You don't understand what it's like to build something from nothing and watch someone else take credit, smiling for the cameras while everyone thinks I was just as important to the success of the show." This outburst prompted Wolf's defense team to call for a recess to calm the situation, but it was too late. The jury later reported that this moment became a pivotal factor in their deliberations, as it revealed the deep resentment Wolf had been harboring for years since Fritz left the show. During the trial, forensic accountants testified about suspicious changes in Wolf's business structure in the months leading up to Fritz's death. Wolf had quietly restructured his companies to ensure control over Fritz's intellectual property in the event that he became incapacitated or passed away. Notably, Wolf had purchased a business insurance policy for Fritz, making his own company the beneficiary of a $5 million payout. Prosecutors also revealed that Wolf had established several shell companies that Fritz was unaware of, and transferred valuable antiques into these entities, with a total worth exceeding $2 million. After reviewing all the evidence, the jury took only 4 hours to reach a guilty verdict for Wolf. When the judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole, things quickly spiraled out of control. Wolf, in full view of the courtroom, suddenly erupted in rage, jumping up and shouting, "You don't understand. He was going to destroy everything. He was going to destroy my legacy." He charged across the defense table, knocking over papers and water cups as the bailiffs rushed toward him, but Wolf didn't stop there. He charged toward Fritz's family. flailing his arms wildly before they were able to restrain him. The chaos escalated further when, as panic spread through the courtroom, Wolf broke free once again. This time he grabbed a neck brace, a piece of evidence that had been presented, and wielded it as a weapon, stabbing one of the bailiffs in the shoulder. "I built American Pickers. That was my life's work," Wolf shouted as three other officers struggled to restrain him. He fell to the ground but continued to fight fiercely, kicking and screaming about the betrayal he believed he had endured. The judge was forced to leave the courtroom as the situation spiraled out of control, with Wolf continuing to wreak havoc. Officers struggled to subdue him, while Fritz's sister, present at the sentencing, had to be escorted out by security when Wolf tried to charge at her. In a dramatic and chaotic scene, Wolf continued to shout, "I deserve this." As Wolf was handcuffed and prepared to be led away, he lost his composure. "It was my show," he shouted in frustration, adding to the already tense atmosphere in the courtroom. But the moment that stunned everyone was when Wolf stared at Danielle Colby, who was sitting in the gallery, and screamed, "Tell them the truth, tell them what Frank was really like." Colby turned away, her face clearly showing her distress. Other members of the production crew couldn't hold back their emotions, crying in the face of the unexpected separation. The American Pickers family, once thought to be a tight-knit group, was now deeply divided by the events in the courtroom. Some continued to support Wolf, while others sided with the prosecution. Court documents also revealed a shocking truth. Wolf had secretly recorded crew members turning against Fritz in the years leading up to his death. As security struggled to control Wolf's behavior, he continued to lash out, revealing more details that stunned many. He was going to start his own show, Wolf yelled. "He told me I was outdated and the network wanted him back." The scene in the courtroom turned into a shocking spectacle, with at least 3 people injured, including Wolf's defense attorney, who was struck by a flying water bottle, even as he was dragged out of the room. Wolf kept shouting about the betrayal he believed he had suffered all along, claiming that Fritz had planned to ruin him. After the courtroom incident, Wolf's former friends and colleagues spoke out about his personality. Former American Pickers producer Thomas Reynolds described instances of Wolf's outbursts behind the scenes when things didn't go his way. He kept the perfect rustic image in front of the camera, but off camera he could be terrifying, especially with lower-level staff, Reynolds said. Others described Wolf becoming increasingly paranoid, believing that Fritz was secretly plotting to return to television with a competing show. Legal experts analyzing the case suggested that Wolf may have suffered from narcissistic personality disorder, which could explain the stark contrast between his public persona and private behavior. The case sent shock waves through the reality TV community, especially within American Pickers, a show that had reached millions of viewers worldwide. The History Channel canceled all episodes featuring Wolf and expressed shock and sympathy for Fritz's family. Several major sponsors also pulled their support from the show, leaving the future of American Pickers uncertain. Fritz's family filed a lawsuit seeking control over his antiques collection and intellectual property, vowing to honor Fritz's legacy while pursuing legal action against the network for allowing Wolf's increasingly erratic behavior. Mental health experts analyzed the case and suggested that Wolf may have developed a more severe form of narcissistic personality disorder after years of public attention. Dr. Robert Keller, a forensic psychologist, explained, "While this doesn't excuse his actions, it helps explain the contrast between his public persona and private behavior. People with narcissistic traits can appear charming and composed while harboring intense resentment and plotting revenge." The most concerning aspect of the case was how Wolf used his television platform to manipulate public perception. After Fritz's death, Wolf took to social media in tears, attributing Fritz's passing to complications from his stroke. At the same time, he seized the opportunity to announce his future plans, crafting a deceptive image to steer public attention and protect his own legacy. After Wolf was sentenced, prosecutor Sarah Donovan emphasized that this was not just a murder but a calculated act of deception against millions of viewers. These people had trusted, mourned, and sympathized with Wolf, only to discover that he, the man who killed his former partner, was exploiting their grief to enrich himself. Investigators uncovered that over $1 million had been donated shortly after Fritz's death, with the majority of the funds funneled into accounts that only Wolf could access. When the life sentence was handed down, Wolf's former viewers and supporters were confronted with a harsh reality. The public image of a passionate antique collector completely collapsed. Replaced by the grim truth of a man capable of murder and violence, we feel betrayed not only by Wolf's actions but by the years of deception we welcomed into our homes every week. Shared longtime viewer Robert Jenkins, those who had trusted in Wolf's down-to-earth charm and passion for preservation now had to face the painful truth. It was all a facade, hiding dark and disturbing behavior. The tragedy was not only a shock to the public but also led to a deep rift within the American Picker crew. Some crew members believed in Wolf's innocence, while others sided with the prosecution. Danielle Colby, one of the prosecution's witnesses, took a leave of absence from television, explaining that she needed time to heal and reflect. In a brief statement, she expressed hope that the legacy of antique preservation would continue despite the tragic circumstances. Other crew members have remained out of the public eye, as they struggle with the dual pain of losing Fritz and witnessing Wolf being convicted of murder. Before Wolf erupted in rage, the judge made what seemed like prophetic remarks. "Now, Mr. Wolf, you present yourself as a champion of history and American preservation. While harboring thoughts of vengeance and murder, you've used your platform to preach the value of the past, while planning the death of the man who helped build that foundation. Today, justice is served not only for Frank Fritz but for the millions of viewers who trusted you." At that moment, Wolf lunged across the table, starting a violent outburst that would become his final public appearance before being led away to spend the rest of his life behind bars. If you found this story shocking, don't forget to share the video with your friends, hit like to support the channel, and subscribe to follow the upcoming twists. The story isn't over yet, and we'll continue to bring you the most thrilling and surprising details. While Wolf's case continues to send shock waves through the public, another unexpected event has also caused a stir in the reality TV world. Rumors began to circulate that Richard Kevin Harrison, also known as Richard Harrison, famous for the show Pawn Stars, had been sentenced to life in prison. Richard Harrison, a businessman and TV personality known for his blunt approach to work and vast knowledge, suddenly found himself embroiled in serious legal troubles. Pawn Stars has treated viewers to tough negotiations and daily dramas inside Richard's famous pawn shop in Las Vegas, but now his burgeoning television career has taken a dark and unexpected turn. What really happened to Richard Harrison, and why is he facing such a harsh sentence? This case has left people bewildered and curious, and the details of the case are sure to make Pawn Stars fans rethink everything they thought they knew about the beloved figure. Richard Kevin Harrison was born on March 22, 1965, in Lexington, North Carolina, and at just 2 years old, he moved with his family to San Diego, California, where he spent most of his childhood. From a young age, Richard struggled with epilepsy, which led him to spend much of his time reading, exploring stories, and learning about historical figures. Later events in his life would lead him into the world of television, where he built a significant reputation in the pawn business and reality TV. But now Richard Harrison's story is facing a terrifying and unexpected twist. Richard Harrison, the founder of the famous gold and silver pawn shop, has had a remarkable journey in both life and career. Despite facing numerous challenges during his childhood, including battling epilepsy, Richard remained persistent and determined to pursue a path of learning. Due to his condition, Richard had to miss school frequently and ultimately dropped out in the middle of his sophomore year. However, the setback in his education didn't dampen his thirst for knowledge. Richard focused on self-education, reading extensively on various subjects, particularly history and business. The historical and business knowledge that Richard honed on his own provided him with a strong foundation for his future career. During his teenage years, Richard began working on business ventures with his father. He developed a keen eye for valuing and authenticating valuable items, a skill that would prove invaluable in his later pawn shop career. At the age of 17, Richard married his girlfriend Kim after she became pregnant. The couple went on to have 2 sons, Corey and Adam, but ultimately divorced after 8 years of marriage in 1981. Richard's family moved to Las Vegas, Nevada, where his father, Richard Benjamin Harrison, known as the Old Man, opened the gold and silver coin shop. This marked the beginning of the famous gold and silver pawn shop. In its early years, the shift from a coin shop to a pawn shop was a clever strategy by the Harrison family, recognizing that the pawn business offered higher profits. The initial years in the pawn business were not easy. With Richard and his father working long hours to build their reputation in Las Vegas, they faced demanding customers and situations that were sometimes quite dangerous. But these experiences helped Richard sharpen his negotiation skills. By the early 2000s, Richard had gained fame in Las Vegas for his expertise in collectibles and historical artifacts. The Harrison family's pawn shop stood out for selling unique and valuable items, attracting both tourists and locals. Recognizing the entertainment potential of the shop, Rick began to consider bringing the pawn shop to the screen. After several rejections and persistent efforts, Pawn Stars finally aired in 2009. The television show followed the daily operations at Gold and Silver Pawn Shop, showcasing the antiques and valuable artifacts that Richard and his family appraised and bought. The show became a massive success, propelling Richard from a local pawn shop owner to a nationally recognized TV star. Rick's catchphrases, particularly "the best I can do is," became iconic as he negotiated with customers selling their valuable items. One of the standout features of Pawn Stars was the educational aspect that Richard brought to the show. Each episode wasn't just about the negotiations. It also provided insights into the history and value of the items brought into the shop. Richard frequently shared his extensive knowledge of the artifacts, helping viewers gain a deeper understanding of their historical context. This approach attracted a large audience, making Pawn Stars one of the most successful shows on the History Channel. Under Richard's leadership, the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop expanded its scale and attracted tourists from all over the world, eager for the chance to meet the stars of the show or even appear in an episode. The success of Pawn Stars not only made Richard famous but also opened up opportunities for career growth. He wrote books, appeared on other television programs, and even opened a restaurant. This newfound fame elevated Richard to new heights in both his personal life and career. With the success of Pawn Stars, Richard Harrison became one of the most recognizable faces in the reality TV industry. He appeared not only on talk shows but also as a sought-after speaker at events and seminars. Richard's career extended beyond being a pawn shop owner or a TV personality, branching out into various other fields, showcasing his business acumen and his ability to build a powerful personal brand. Richard Harrison's journey is a testament to perseverance and an unrelenting desire for knowledge. Despite facing numerous challenges in life, he remained steadfast in his goals and ultimately achieved remarkable success. Pawn Stars not only made Richard a household name but also serves as a story of resilience. Turning life's struggles into opportunities for success, Richard stood out for his sharp business acumen and ability to recognize the value in items that others might overlook. Pawn Stars gave him the platform to showcase these qualities, as he evaluated everything from historical artifacts and vintage cars to rare collectibles. Richard's skill in negotiating and appraising rare items helped his shop achieve immense success. One of the most notable deals on the show was when he purchased a Super Bowl ring from the New England Patriots for $1,600, which was later valued at a much higher price. In addition to running the pawn shop, Rick expanded into other business ventures. He opened Rick's Rollin' Smoke Barbecue and a bar right next to the pawn shop, showcasing the diversity of his business strategy. Not stopping there, he co-authored the book License to Pawn, Deals, Steals, and My Life at the Gold and Silver, sharing insights into his life and business philosophy. Richard was always on the lookout for new opportunities to grow his brand and continuously expanded his business empire. Despite achieving fame and success in business, Richard also faced his share of challenges in his personal life. After his first marriage ended, Richard married Tracy Harrison, and they lived happily together for 27 years before divorcing in 2011. In 2013, he married Deanna Burdett, with his co-star Danny Coker from Counting Cars officiating the ceremony. Although a public figure, Rick kept his family life relatively private, occasionally sharing small details on the show. Through these glimpses, viewers could see that Richard was a devoted family man, despite the demands of fame and work. However, not everything went smoothly for Richard. In 2023, he found himself in serious trouble when FBI agents, along with IRS investigators and representatives from the Cultural Heritage Protection Agency, raided his home and store as part of a lengthy investigation. The raid shocked many and was a huge surprise to Rick's fans and close associates. Investigators seized computers, documents, and various items from the shop, while some customers and employees were temporarily detained. Despite being caught up in the investigation, Richard remained calm and cautious. The scene quickly spread on social media as his neighbors recorded the incident with their mobile phones. Such situations are not what any celebrity would hope for, but they highlighted Richard's resilience and composure in a tense moment. When Richard's father, Richard Benjamin Harrison, known as the Old Man, passed away in 2018, Rick expressed deep respect and a commitment to continue running the family business according to the principles his father had established. This was a testament to the strong bond and respect between father and son, which was also evident in their long-standing working relationship at Gold and Silver Pawn Shop. Richard Harrison's career is not just a story of success in business, but also a journey filled with ups and downs, marked by difficult yet meaningful choices. It is the combination of his career, family, and various business ventures that shaped Richard Harrison into a figure respected not only by those in the entertainment industry but also by entrepreneurs and fans alike. Specifically, authorities believe Richard Harrison was involved in a complex operation where he undervalued historical artifacts to reduce taxes, while selling them through private channels at much higher actual values. The charges also alleged that he purchased illegally sourced items, including crucial historical documents and artifacts from museums and private collections. This was largely triggered by a former employee who blew the whistle on these transactions and provided information about a separate accounting system Richard maintained to keep these transactions hidden from the public eye. From the outset, Richard's representatives denied any wrongdoing, claiming the investigation was a misunderstanding that would soon be cleared up. However, as the investigation progressed, troubling evidence began to surface, including encrypted messages, financial documents, and testimonies from former employees who accused Richard of instructing them to alter information and documents to conceal illegal transactions. The evidence included messages between Richard and an unidentified supplier, in which Richard discussed how to clean the provenance of a document believed to have been stolen from a university archive. Richard was also accused of structuring transactions to avoid reporting large cash dealings, further fueling suspicions about the legality of his business activities. Throughout the legal battle, Richard maintained his innocence, claiming he was being targeted because of his success and political views. Many of his supporters stood by him, organizing protests and calling for justice with hashtags like #FreeRichard, reflecting the public divide on the matter. Despite facing serious charges, Richard upheld his image as an upright businessman and continued to appear on talk shows to defend his position. Although the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop remained open, its revenues saw a significant decline following the investigation, with many customers staying away due to the legal cloud hanging over the business. The prolonged legal battle created a tense atmosphere not only for Richard but also for Pawn Stars, as the History Channel suspended production of the show during this time. Despite the criticism and challenges in his career, Richard demonstrated his resilience by continuing to face the ordeal head-on. However, this case also revealed a lesser-known side of him, a Richard Harrison who, while appearing righteous, might have a more calculating and pragmatic side than the public had previously known. What's crucial in cases like this is that everyone deserves empathy and fair treatment during difficult times, and the support from Richard's loyal followers has remained steadfast. However, the new details and ongoing legal debates will continue to impact Richard's public image and the future of his business. Richard Harrison's trial saw strong support from his family and friends. His son Corey appeared deeply emotional and pained as he sat behind him in court, while Chum Lee, Richard's longtime friend, attended every day but quickly left the courtroom, unable to control his emotions. The verdict shocked many, with legal experts arguing that the punishment seemed disproportionate to the financial crimes Richard was facing. However, the judge emphasized that the sentence not only reflected financial crimes but also underscored the irreparable harm to cultural heritage caused by Richard's involvement in trafficking looted artifacts. Although Richard had built an image as a protector of history and culture, his actions were seen as contributing to the destruction and exploitation of priceless cultural artifacts for personal gain. This led to a harsh and troubling sentence, underscoring the damage done to historical heritage. Immediately after the sentencing, Richard's legal team filed an appeal, arguing that the sentence was too harsh and unfair for a nonviolent crime. They also requested that Richard be granted bail while awaiting the appeal, but this request was denied. The situation became even more tense as Richard was handcuffed, and the image of him being led away captured the attention of the media and social media platforms. Richard's fan community reacted strongly to the sentence. Some skeptics questioned whether there had been a miscarriage of justice, while experts in the cultural heritage community welcomed the verdict as a deterrent against the trafficking of looted artifacts. The Hearts for Harrison campaign was organized to help Richard secure a retrial, with participants calling for a reconsideration of the sentence, arguing that it was too harsh compared to similar cases. The History Channel, where Pawn Stars had become a reality TV phenomenon, quickly distanced itself from Richard Harrison after the scandal erupted. The channel officially canceled Pawn Stars and removed all reruns from its broadcast schedule. In an official statement, the channel expressed deep disappointment in Richard's actions and reaffirmed its commitment to preserving historical artifacts and cultural heritage. Despite facing serious legal issues, it cannot be denied that Richard Harrison had a profound impact on the reality TV industry and the pawn business before everything began to unravel. He successfully built a business empire through Pawn Stars, turning the family pawn shop into a globally recognized brand. His influence on the reality TV industry, as well as the way his show changed how people approached history and antiques, is undeniable. Although his career is now facing significant challenges, Richard's legacy in television culture and business remains deeply impactful. Richard Harrison's story is truly a tumultuous journey, from building a business empire in the pawn industry to the inevitable downfall caused by poor decisions and legal violations. His facing a harsh sentence not only changed his personal life but also had a profound impact on his family and business. However, the resilience of the Harrison family, especially his son Corey, has helped them remain strong and continue finding ways to revive the business while facing these challenges. Although the gold and silver pawn shop remains a popular tourist destination in Las Vegas, the number of customers has significantly declined since Richard's conviction. However, Corey Harrison has made efforts to improve and revamp the shop's image. He has emphasized transparency in all transactions and committed to working with museums and educational organizations to promote ethical collecting practices. Additionally, Corey shared that the business has implemented new procedures to verify the provenance of every item brought in. While acknowledging that past mistakes are inexcusable, the family is committed to becoming part of the solution to these issues. Chum Lee, a longtime friend of Richard and an integral part of Pawn Stars, has gone through a deep internal struggle. In an interview, he shared that despite learning a great deal from Richard about how to run a business, he had to accept that there were darker sides to Richard's character and actions that he had either not known about or didn't want to face. This reflects the complexity of the relationship between Chum Lee and Richard, as well as how each member of the Harrison family deals with the difficult aspects of their careers and personal lives. The Harrison family continues to receive strong support from the Pawn Stars fan community. Corey shared that the family is deeply grateful for the encouraging messages they've received from around the world, and these small gestures have truly helped Richard find strength during the toughest times. Activities like holding weekly prayer circles outside the pawn shop and encouraging fans to send letters and photos of memorable moments from the show have become an important part of maintaining the spirit and unity within the Harrison family. From a successful businessman and beloved reality TV star, Richard Harrison has now become a convicted criminal facing the darkest moments of his life. This transformation is not only a shock to his family but also serves as a cautionary tale for celebrities and successful individuals in society. Cultural commentators have compared Richard's downfall to tragedies in Shakespeare's works where a man intelligent and well-versed in history destroys himself through wrongful actions. Richard's story has become a testament to the fragility of fame and the dangers of blurring the line between shrewd business practices and behaviors that can lead to criminality. Richard Harrison's story is a lesson about the temptations that come with success and the often blurry line between legal business practices and criminal behavior. While Richard may have been a smart and creative entrepreneur in growing his business, his poor choices in engaging in illegal activities ultimately led to his downfall. This serves as a cautionary tale about the importance of maintaining ethics and principles in both work and life, no matter how successful one may become. Despite Richard facing his sentence and the darkest moments of his life, the Harrison family refuses to give up. Corey Harrison, Richard's son, is now leading the family business and continues to keep the gold and silver pawn shop as an important part of the Las Vegas community. They've made significant changes to the shop's operations, committing to ethical collecting practices and transparency. In every transaction, although the pawn shop no longer draws the crowds it once did, the family's effort to maintain the business and restore their reputation shows that they are not only facing the truth but also doing everything they can to rebuild their future. In contrast to the difficulties, the Harrison family is facing a strong wave of support has emerged from Pawn Stars. Fan support groups have been established on social media calling for people to send letters, cards, and messages of encouragement to Richard. The Harrison family also created a website where fans can send messages to Richard, and all of these supportive words will be forwarded to him in prison. This initiative is a way for the family to thank their loyal supporters for the unwavering backing they've received during this tough time. The kind words from the community have helped Richard regain strength and hope in his darkest days. The Harrison family shared that during these challenges, the support from the fan community has been a huge source of motivation for Richard. Richard has never appreciated the Pawn Stars viewers more than now. Knowing that you are still by his side means so much to him. The family wrote in their statement, the encouraging words, positive thoughts, and prayers not only help Richard stay strong but also serve as a testament to the power of love and loyalty from his fans. Although Richard is going through legal troubles and unimaginable changes in his life, his story continues to unfold with many more complex developments to come. His journey from a pawn shop owner to a successful businessman and then a convicted individual will remain a powerful lesson about the fragility of fame, the temptations of success, and how wrong decisions can destroy a career. While Richard continues to face life in prison, the Harrison family is struggling to maintain their empire, hoping that one day they will be able to restore their reputation and create a better future for the next generation. The love and support from the fan community will undoubtedly be a crucial motivation for them to get through this difficult time. If Richard's story made you think, don't forget to share this video with your friends, hit like to support the channel, and subscribe so you won't miss the upcoming developments. There's still much to explore. See you in the next